Let's open the work session, and I guess the first reminder that do you want to get anything directly, or you're going to a reminder to just go to the signature file and make sure that you're signing documents there. And the first item on the work session is Josie and the appointment of Deputy Town Clerk. Hey, Josie. Hey.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me tonight. So the board should have received my letter regarding the appointment of Bethany and to have her assume the position of Deputy Town Clerk. Just some information that Bethany does have all of the qualifications to be Deputy Town Clerk. And I have definitely enjoyed working with Bethany since her hiring last year, which I believe was in August. And I'm here to receive your support and to recognize Bethany for her hard work and by approving this appointment.
All right, thank you.
You looking for a motion?
Well, do we need a motion, or you're just giving us a heads up? And
Probably,
A
motion.
motion's good, yes.
okay, go for it, Neil.
I move that we hire Bethany
Right.
and approve her position.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All right, I'd like to say that Bethany is extremely pleasant person, and she's an asset to your office. So I think that's
Absolutely.
great that you're offering her the position.
Yeah, I'm excited to keep Bethany. She's happy
Okay.
too.
Oh crap! I didn't do the the general. We'll do it later on anyway. So therefore, by roll call, all those your vote, please. Zach.
Aye.
Mary Ann.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Neil.
Aye.
And Bill. Aye. Well, thank you very much, Josie.
And did you want me to quickly
Yes.
state about the website?
Josie just wants to talk about the website real quick.
It's a brief message, but I just wanted to take some time just to inform residents about the new website for the town clerk's office. The website has information on dog licensing, motor vehicle registrations, and vital records. And you can access the website at www.townclerkplymouthnh.com or through the town's website. And just briefly, residents can refer to this website for any updates related to the operations in the town clerk's office. And aside from the website, I am still renewing dog licenses, registering motor vehicles, and working on vital record requests. And it has been extremely busy, but I'm doing my best to contact people who leave a voicemail or send me an email directly within at least a couple of business days. So, and if anyone has questions, they can also, contact me at 536-1732. And like I said, within a few business days, I can return their call.
Very good. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Right.
Josie, the website is the town website, Plymouth-NH, or is it different?
Different.
Does he want to call in? He might need to call in. You're done. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,
So is
Josie.
it just, Josie, just plymouthnh.org?
So, town clerk, Plymouth NH
Oh,
at .com, I mean. Yeah, there you go.
what?
All right. So, did Brian get that
Oh.
down? So, but anyway,
Oh, got it. Great. Thank you.
the next item up for the discussion is Mary Ann. We're going to be discussing Main Street businesses outside.
Tom's in, it looks like.
Oh, good.
It looks like it.
Yeah, he's there. Tom, can you hear us?
Yes, hi.
Very good.
Yay.
Hey, Tom. Good evening.
Hey, Doc, why are you in the dock?
Am I in the dark?
You
Little bit.
are.
Oh,
Just turn around, face the light.
budget freeze. Shut the lights down.
So, Marianne, you want to kick us off, or?
Well, thanks. So, with the reopening of many businesses, especially today, and especially from the, I guess, restaurant perspective, although some retail, there's been some discussion among the community members of potentially doing some outside seating, keeping within guidelines. And I think initially the downtown members discussed potentially using, a couple parking spots in front of their businesses and using that with, proper guidelines to use that for outside seating. Having run that through some folks within town hall, not some safety concerns and understandable. So once again, the business members have been kicking around, is there a potential for, other ideas to help with outside seating? And one of them being, maybe we shut down Main Street Friday nights and Saturday nights for the time being, or some other specified time, and kind of shut it down like we do for parades, and then giving folks to set up some outside seating, maybe even for the retail, set up some sort of display. I'm not sure. I think we're all just kicking around some ideas to, to increase and encourage business down on Main Street. I'm sure everyone's noticed it's pretty dead. So we'd like to do something. I'm not sure what. And like I said, one of the ideas was, maybe shutting down Main Street for a couple hours on Saturday nights. So I know I'm pretty sure Tom and Steve have some safety concerns, but I'm just wondering if we can work through any of those things.
Ken, I guess my first question is, has anybody had a discussion with the DOT about it? Because it is their road. And I know whenever we have a parade, we have to apply for a permit. And there's got to be a plan, not that it couldn't get done, but there's got to be a planned detour around it. And then they only want a certain section of the road closed off for, like, they ask for an hour or less. And that's about what it takes for our parade. They don't like extended periods of time. But then again, we haven't asked them during these times. I don't know if they're more flexible or not. Based on what's going on, I don't know if they, flex some of those rules or not. And I know Tom probably has the same concern I do, is you shut off a section of Main Street and then somebody needs emergency services in Main Street and you have a bunch of people in the roadway, and now we have to go through there, or the shortest route to get through there is with either a cruiser, an ambulance, a fire truck, and stuff like that. And now we have people in the road.
yeah. As I said to you, I think, Marianne, when we were emailing, I like the idea. I appreciate the thinking outside the box. Are there challenges? As the chief said, certainly. I think the emergency access is key. That would have to be maintained somehow. I don't know if that means keeping one lane open, if that would work, just for emergency vehicles. And the DOT issue, I think, would be number one before we spin our wheels on it. Are they going to allow it?
Jules, I know you were going to talk
Yeah.
to or.
I did email. I reached out to Alan Hanscom, who's the district manager for our section of DOT, but he was working on something for like all the towns, is my understanding, and I have not heard back yet. So I know a lot of towns are struggling with it, but I'll try to give him a call and keep working on it. But
Yeah, funny. When the governor's guidelines came out about reopening, he's specific for restaurants. He specifically calls out and says outdoor seating and including using parking spaces. Once again, I'm not pushing for that. I just thought it was interesting that he specifically outlined that. So maybe that shutting down one side of the street, maybe, it kind of in turns falls in with that. So if we shut down one side of the street, we can use the parking spaces on the other side of the street. I also think it would give another look to the town. Something, it's starting to come alive in some way, obviously while keeping proper distance. So do we wait now for Jules and the DOT? How do we approach this or move forward with it?
I personally think the more of you, meaning some of the selectmen and everything, call the same guy, because he's probably very busy and squeaky wheel gets the grease. I think the more people, the more of us that are asking, you're going to get an answer quicker.
Steve, I think your microphone is a little overdriven. Can you back off?
I can try. Maybe, am I speaking too loud?
Oh, no.
No.
No, okay.
Not really.
Do we have contact information for the specific person we should reach out to?
Jules, do you have that contact?
I have
You
his
can send it to
contact.
the board so they can call him too.
I mean, is that what we want? Is everybody to?
It said the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
All right,
so
I'll send out.
more people try to get a hold of him.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll get an answer.
You want me to try to get him right now?
Well, he's either going to get aggravated or give us an answer right away. I think either way,
Yeah, this
we're
is
going to get something out of the
It's
guy.
after 5,
Okay.
we probably won't
tomorrow.
pick up.
Yeah, tomorrow,
Well,
not tonight.
A lot of people are
It's
at
worth
home.
a shot. And Jules, if you give me the guy's information, I'll be happy to call him too and ask. You know,
Well, do you know Alan Hanskin?
I know him because I think I've talked to him on the phone before about
Okay.
other events, but other than that, I don't really know.
All right, I'll forward you. I'll give it out.
The other thing that to add to the mix is the DOT controls the travel lanes, but not the parking in town. We're a white line community. So in other words, DOT controls between the fog lanes on either side, which includes the parking areas downtown. So they're going to be looking out for their roadway and not for the parking safety as much as Steve would be.
I know I do have concern about letting cars go by while people are sitting out there. That's my concern. I like the idea, like if we kind of blend everybody's ideas together, using one side of the road but still close the whole road down, just in case emergency vehicles have to get by, they can use the other side of the road. But I'm not open to letting traffic go by while there are people out there patrons out there having dinner or whatever. I just don't think that's a safe situation. You know, Main Street, Marion, you must have seen it a million times. People are backing into each other all the time down there, and I just don't want to see somebody sitting at a table and all of a sudden they get backed into, because that's going to be, you know, when you have a 4,000-pound car backing into a 150-pound person, it never works out in the person's favor. So
I would agree. I think that, you know, leaving that one lane open would only be for emergency vehicles.
Yeah.
You can't have traffic flow at the same time. I think it makes sense for a few key people to call Hanscom, not a whole bunch. I don't think that would be of value.
Yeah.
Marianne, what segment of Main Street would you be thinking of?
You know, it's so we would like all of Main Street if we had our course. So you know, but you think of the Rotary to, I'm going to ask for everything, but from the Rotary to Warren Street, you know, so you've got Thai Smile at one end and Six Burner, and I'm just looking at restaurants, but Six Burner at the other end. So I might as well go for the big one, big swing, and you know, see where we get with that. Once again, just sort of trying to mimic the parade route, not trying to compare the two, because I understand the time, you know, the amount of time we're looking for, but just trying to hit as many businesses, because everyone's struggling right now, obviously. So what would we specifically be asking DOT, just to extend the time to three hours, or?
Well, basically, just number one, can you close down the road for whatever dates and time, like every Friday and Saturday, Sunday, whatever you said, whatever you think is going to work for the businesses, and then see if they're even open to that idea. Then if they need us to officially apply for it, we can do that. That's simple. That's very easy to do. But if he's telling you no right off the bat, then we're going to have to come up with a plan B.
Okay.
And I kind of have a plan B. I just don't know if it's going to work well for businesses.
Ooh, what's the plan B?
Well, we have all that parking down there by the amphitheater riverfront. We could close all of that down. We own all of that whole road down there. We could close that down. People could bring stuff down there, serve people down there, or they could walk from Main Street, get the items, and serve people down there. I don't know if that would work or not. It's just an idea I'm tossing around. Or the whole amphitheater. People could sit down there, sit on the bleacher style, or where they normally have like the concerts and stuff. You could set up tables down there.
Right. I guess I know for me, although it's different, right? You can get an ice cream and walk down there, but I'm thinking of a, worst case, a 6-burner, or even better case, maybe the Lucky Dog, kind of how they take orders, bring it back and forth. Unless they do it, I'm making stuff up, but some sort of limited menu, and maybe they could, those hot plate type things where you can keep things warm. I'm not sure how that would work, Steve, but I'm certainly not the majority. I'm more the minority anyway. But I could throw that out there. Or we maybe just wait and see if we need to do a plan B.
It sounds like from what Jules had heard back initially that they're working on this, because I'm sure other communities are asking as well, and coming up with some guidance. So I don't think you're going to get a flat out no.
Good.
And I think the next step, Marianne, and maybe you could do this if you haven't already, check with some communities that have done this and what are their challenges. And the only one that comes to mind is Burlington, Vermont, but there probably are others in New Hampshire.
I know Portsmouth is trying to do the same. Now, obviously, we're completely different, but I'd certainly be interested in reaching out to them. I think that's a good idea, Tom. I will do that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who.
Sorry, if I may, just briefly, been doing a lot of research on this, and I think, what's been happening is a lot of these communities have what they're calling them parklets, and they're the little outdoor dining spaces, but they're more permanent, built up. So if they use the parking spaces, they've built a platform so that the space is level with the sidewalk. So you have more of a separation between the pedestrians and driving cars. And I'm wondering if the governor, I can only guess that he's thinking of those sort of more permanent parklets in bigger cities rather than just putting tables and chairs right into the parking spaces as they are. That's all so that's what I've seen for guidance is when you build these parklets, they have this platform. It's extremely, you've got a lot of barriers between you and the road. That's my 2 cents.
So with Brian's recommendation, just a few of us calling.
It's me. Shit.
A lot of weird noises going on here.
Yeah.
That's me. Jules, did you have me? Jules.
So once again,
Yes.
who should we designate call? Who has the most pull
On the board?
on the board, or even Steve? Steve volunteered. Maybe he didn't want, but for
Yeah.
Tom,
No, I don't mind doing it.
Steve can try first.
Can everybody hear me better? I moved my computer further away from my fat face. Can everybody hear me
Stop.
better?
Sounds
You
like
sound
you
great.
stopped
Sounds good.
snorting.
You look slimmer already.
Okay, so Steve will call him first.
I'd be happy to. I'll call
Okay.
tomorrow if you want.
All
thanks.
right. Sounds good.
So Jules, are you able to send me an email with his contact information? I might have it at my office.
I am able to do that.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes.
Hey, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So first of all, oh crap. I'm trying to go through my phone and it didn't add. So So I'll tell you what, I don't think everyone's really kind of in agreement with exactly how it should be open. So if Steve starts to call Keith up and say, I think we ought to, do like a parking lane or maybe behind, Main Street and go for the amphitheater. So, and I think like Marianne wants to like close down the road almost fully, so if we have like multiple people approaching Keith Hanscom to describe different situations, that's just going to be confusing for him. So.
Well, we don't need his permission for the amphitheater or down by Riverfront Park, and that's our property, so we don't need that. It's just Main Street and how much of Main Street will he give us? And I have no problem with trying to sell either one of those scenarios. We close down the whole thing or whatever. Mary, and I just need to know, like, if you want, what do you want for days and hours?
So I could approach, so we share a Facebook page, the business members and I could certainly throw it out to them. Off the cuff, I was thinking Friday and Saturday nights, 5 to 9, 6 to 9. I guess whatever we can get away with.
Okay.
So you're promoting the fact of like shutting down all of like northbound.
Sure. Either way.
And
northbound would be best.
And I'm not certain if Steve would agree with that, or is there an issue with emergency vehicles? So you wouldn't be advocating necessarily for shutting down northbound Main Street with Keith.
Well, I would, as long as southbound's still open for emergency vehicles only, not for regular traffic. It should be, the whole street should be closed off for regular vehicular traffic, and it's only open for emergency vehicles.
Okay.
Agreed.
Yeah. Does everyone agree with that as well?
I do.
I have a
Yes.
question.
Yep.
I have
Okay.
a question.
Yep.
Are you going to eliminate all parking on Main Street?
Yeah.
You probably have to, because you'll have to need the other lane for emergency vehicles should you need to get one through.
So that's going to be an issue, but at least they can find parking somewhere. And once
We have our spots on Green Street. We probably could reach out to the university. I mean, they're not really using their lot right now.
You could do that. The other thing that, and Tom, I don't know, do you think if you're coming down Highland Street and you need to take a right onto Main Street, and there are cars parked there, are you still going to be able to do it? And there are patrons eating on the other side of the road. That's you got a lot bigger equipment than I do.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't advocate for any parking. We'd have a rough time with the tanker and the aerial ladder truck getting down through there. I would not have parking there.
Okay.
All right. So therefore, we're advocating for full control of north and southbound on Main Street and no parking. And that would be our plan A to satisfy the businesses downtown, and plan B would be, simply with the Rotary, or not the Rotary, but the Rotary's amphitheater.
The other thing too is just tossing out ideas. Now I know now we started the conversation. How are we closing off the road? Are we just having barricades put up? Or you're going to have police officers at every intersection? If you do that, now we have to start paying people, and it's going to start costing a bunch of money.
Would that be enough? Would you be okay with that?
With what, the barricades or the police officers?
The barricades.
I would be okay with the barricades, and just whoever's on duty at that particular time. When we first start doing it, let's keep an eye on it to see how it actually works out. And if people aren't abiding by the barricades, and we may have to revisit the idea again.
And wouldn't that, at least, putting a patrolman or a couple or a few down there, wouldn't that be also kind of wrapped up in the COVID funds, the 169,000, theoretically?
That's an and question.
Yep.
Sorry, I missed it.
I have another question. Is it possible that we could appoint the police chief and the fire chief to meet with Mr. Hanscom to develop an envelope for this, proposal? I think that they're the key people really here.
I don't mind meeting with him. I highly doubt he's going to meet with either of us. I can ask. We can ask that question.
Well, it'd still be just making a phone call or, a Zoom meeting.
That's what I think. It's not that difficult because we do it for parades and other events, which we do, a few times a year. So I don't think it's that difficult of an ask. I mean, we know how to do it. We've done it several times. So it's not really our issue. It's whether we get permission or not.
And as a regular thing, not just a one-off parade.
Yeah.
Who was that?
My very loud cat.
Marianne, to back up one step, perhaps, I presume you have an idea that many of the restaurants are interested in this? I mean, we've started to write assembly permits for those that, already have some outdoor seating.
Right, I'm not sure who has, well, you've got what? The Fat Fish,
The Grotto,
right?
the trolley car is adding a deck.
Oh, right.
Lucky Dog's adding a deck.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
The farmhouse, not that they're in Main Street, but
What-
Foster's has a permit now for outdoor seating.
So is that what each business would need? A permit for outside seating? Is
Yeah,
that,
that would come. That would be required.
and where do they get such a permit?
The fire department.
Oh.
Yep, it's a place of assembly. Liquor's going to need it before they allow any service out there.
Okay.
But
So
that's down the road.
Right. So we'll see if we can get Plan A working first, and then obviously we'd follow the rules around permits for outside seating.
Marianne, how quickly do you want to see this done?
Geez, Steve, tomorrow.
I'd be happy to if they say
Friday
yes.
Whatever, do we just shoot for next weekend? Just to put a date. I don't know if that's too soon.
I don't know about the permitting process, Tom. How long does that take?
You mean the fire department?
Yeah,
Liquor.
Well, I
and
mean,
liquor. Yeah.
each one has to be measured and calculated for occupant load. It's it can be done in a timely fashion.
The other thing too, what we could do, depending on how many, if we could get a total of how many restaurants are interested in doing this, I could reach out and make a phone call to State Liquor and see if we can have one of their inspectors come down in one day and just look at everybody's setup and sign off on everybody.
Yeah, they need to be delineated, right? The spaces need to be delineated. Who's going to control what space?
Well, it's probably a good idea anyway for me to, put it out there to all the businesses, even make sure, it is something viable and, they really want to do this. I think I certainly wanted to have the question here to even see if putting out the question to the business folks. But I think it makes sense anyway to ask that question. And then we'll know, at least have a better idea if even the interest is really there.
Okay. So we'll wait for you to get back on your questioning the businesses and then partner with Steve and Tommy to go forward with a permitting request and
Yeah, I think
enhancements.
to help speed things along, or do some things in tandem, I'll reach out to the business community if Steve could then reach out to the DOT at the same time, because I'm assuming no harm, no foul if we find out, most of the businesses, it's too much to handle. In that way, at least we've done two things at the same time that I don't think, are conflicts. And then we can move forward with the permit liquor question. Liquor. I'm from Mass. Liquor.
All right.
Great, thank you.
We didn't need a motion, right? We're all set.
Right.
Right.
All right. Very good. All right. So you want to move on to the next one?
Sure.
Next item is Neil McIver, discuss violations of town ordinance against drinking alcohol in public.
Yeah, I was approached by several citizens who are very concerned about what's been going on in the off-campus community in the village. And I started just watching what was going on. And, we have a problem that it's going to be coming back on us in the fall. The real concern is the behavior of the people that are partying in a number of the off-campus units, and I'm not pointing any fingers or blaming anybody. I just want to get a group together to work on a proposal to resolve these issues. It appears that I'm sure the police have had plenty of experience dealing with these people. Not all these people are residents who have contracts to live in these off-campus apartments. There's an influx that comes in when they decide that they're going to stage these group events that generally start late at night, 10 o'clock at night, and go into the wee hours. And that's when people who are working people trying to sleep are having, become really concerned about what's going on. And I know that this year the problem wasn't as bad as it has been in the past, but we still, with the consideration of the fact that we're in a pandemic contagion right in the middle of it, and the administration has been going to great lengths to develop elaborate plans to protect the health of our citizens, to have this reckless behavior going unchecked in our community is a real danger. I would like to try to see if the town and university committee has been working with this problem for years. And I think we need to take it to another level. I think that the town administration needs to look at maybe giving the police a little more teeth in their enforcement, or the code enforcement, or the fire department, to try to limit the excessive gatherings that are occurring.
Hey, Neil,
Yeah.
could you back off a little bit from your mic? On your
Oh, I'm
laptop?
too loud?
Well, it's
Is
either you or
that
Steve.
okay?
I think Steve's no longer talking, so
I'm cutting into you?
we're getting some pops. So I think
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I know that, most of the property management companies, they really strive to maintain order and keep their properties in good order. But there are some that actually are able to maintain control over their tenants. But on the other hand, we have these absentee landlords that I think are the focal point of the problem. And when you see, well, I've seen enough.
Okay. Well, thanks, Neil. I know like property owners like Doug McLean are very active in
Oh yeah.
cracking down.
Like I said, I'm not blaming anybody.
Yeah.
Although I am looking in the direction of absentee landlords and a lack of responsibility on their part.
I guess, I think we're all kind of aware, and also we've heard complaints from, driving by. Well, unfortunately, it kind of started with, campus properties or off-campus properties that were, I guess the students couldn't get out of their leases. So quite a few of them just stuck around and decided to party. I think they've been clamped down as far as, like drinking on the properties or whatever. But and I know the university, when they plan to reopen, will also be, cracking down on parties as well, and not have the party events that they've had in the past, even on campus. Everything's going to be, probably limited. And I know they're probably, conversing with, Steve as well, or as, what to expect when, the kids come back on campus.
Well, you should know, Steve Temporino is trying to schedule a meeting between myself, him, the Durham chief, UNH chief, the new chief of Keene, and Keene State College, and the town of Keene, and the Attorney General's office to have a big discussion. How are we going to handle this? Because it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no doubt what Neil said is going to happen. These kids are going to want to party. That's what they do. And how are we going to handle it? And we should all have the same message, no matter what school you're at, what town you're in. It's the same message. You do this, you're going to get arrested for X, Y, and Z. But we all need to be on the same page and need a little bit of guidance from the Attorney General's office, because although the governor's orders are out there, very few people have ever been arrested for that. And what do we charge them with?
I'm glad to hear that.
So that is happening. It just hasn't happened yet, so I don't have any answers.
Well, I figure we got about 3 months to come up with a solution.
I agree.
I'm hoping we can break the cycle. I'm not against them having parties, but bringing in people from places like Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and I saw license plates from 14 different states, and the number of cars that show up when they decide they're going to have a party is amazing.
Good.
I think I would like to see the town administration take a second look at whatever zoning regulations we have, and whatever the planning board. I'd like to have the planning board and the zoning board take a look at it, and, along with police and fire and code enforcement.
Okay.
So I'm just kind of a messenger here. I'm trying to be responsible to the citizens who call me up, and I listen to them, and I think they have a honest gripe. And we're getting to a point where we may have a major change in the use of some of these properties. They're talking about bringing in Section 8 housing, because the college is pulling all the underclassmen back on a campus. And the college, we know, is fighting for its life financially. And they need all that revenue. So, that's pretty much my concern. I'm glad to hear what Steve had to say.
Okay.
And I'd like to know how the town manager feels about this. You know, what Kathy, you know, what if she'd be interested in talking to department heads and committee chairmen about you know, bringing the subject up and taking a second look at what we do have for ordinances and regulations in the town.
It never hurts to look, Neil. I defer to the chief of police and the code enforcement officer, you know, to recognize what would work and what wouldn't and how we can control it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to bring this discussion out into the open.
Yep. Understood.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yep. So we can discuss
Okay.
that further.
Thank you. I'm satisfied.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Neil. And now we've got 15 minutes to discuss the opening up the town offices to reopen.
So I did send all of you the plan that the health officer, the police chief, the emergency management director, and myself discussed and came up with. We worked really hard to, you know, to do it and do it properly. And I feel it's a cohesive and sound plan. We're looking at opening next Monday. I mean, we're going to be here anyway, but so the plan's going to begin next week. And we'll be open to the public Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 10 until 2. And we will still be asking the public to whatever they can do online to do online. But if they need to come in here, they can call and make an appointment. And if they do walk in, there are guidelines. I also sent you a copy of this. Can you see this? I sent you an 8.5 by 11. I shrunk this down so you could see what we're going to put outside and on the windows for the public to follow. We are going to recommend that they wear masks when they come in here. We're going to have disinfectant or the hand sanitizer stations at each office for them to use when they walk in the door. They'll use the hand sanitizer before handing over any paperwork. And then they'll also use the hand sanitizer again upon leaving. And we'll just have to be on top of making sure that we wipe everything down again. We have the plexiglass up already, thanks to Brian. He did a great job. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but
So clean, can't see.
it's so clean you can't see it. We have birds flying into it. No. So what I'm looking for is pretty much the board's blessing on the plan and on the opening date being the 18th. The governor's stay-at-home order is in place till the end of this month so far, unless it gets pushed out again. But working with the health officer, he feels that if we stick to the plan, that we pretty much can open anytime as long as the board gives us the blessing to do so.
Okay. Thanks, Kathy.
Kathy, that was also reviewed by the Spear medical director? Is that correct?
Yes, he said it's a very sound plan.
All right. Just for discussion purposes too, I got an email from Sally Fellows. I don't know if she approached anybody earlier or not, but you know, she's Representative Sally Fellows, and she's wanted to get this on tonight's select board meeting, but she's heard that the town of Salem, well, city of Salem, I guess, is also putting in an ordinance or emergency order to require public to wear face masks inside public places. And she said, while city news emergency order requires employees that interact with the public to mask up, the orders only say the public should wear a mask. And as you probably noticed, going to different retailers, not a whole lot of people are wearing masks in places like, Walmart or Hannaford. So she's suggesting putting in an ordinance. and also putting a sign on the door saying mask required.
Question, for that
Yeah.
ordinance, do we have to have a public meeting like the other ordinance, or is because this is an emergency, we don't have to do that?
Her take is an emergency order.
Gotcha. And are you going to have a fine involved in that if somebody's not wearing a mask?
Her suggestion is, having a subject to a certain amount of fine. Did not specify. She didn't specify it, but yes, a fine.
I heard some other town or whatever is doing a $200 fine. Mind you, that is going to be a nightmare to enforce.
Yes, yeah.
Bill, could you forward that to us?
Yeah.
To look at the details. I mean, if I may, to this point, we've been following the governor's orders, which, as she correctly stated, only requires that the employees are maxed up and
Yeah.
that the customers may or
We're recommending they wear one.
right, strongly
I'd
recommend.
like to put requirement in there, but
The CDC just recommends you wear a mask, other than what the situation Tom just described.
Yeah, but you can see what effect that has on, like, even the West Wing of
Oh yeah, I
the
agree.
White House too. So yeah, I think ultimately we're going to be, once we open up, we're just opening ourselves up to increased cases, which obviously our employees. Well, actually, our employees wouldn't be protected either, because it's a respiratory virus, and when you have a customer cough or sneeze in your face, even if you're wearing a mask, you're communicating that virus load to you personally. Well, I guess they'll be looking at a piece of lucite or plexiglass. So I guess that's probably not exactly the case.
No, what town in New Hampshire did you say has put an ordinance in place like this?
Salem.
Salem.
Rockingham Park.
They're considering, though.
Oh, they're considering it. Okay.
I thought it was more than just Salem though, and the other towns escaped me there. I thought there was a couple, 2 or 3 maybe.
I've only heard of Salem, but I wouldn't be surprised, and I would, if I was in that type of an urban environment, I would be pushing it more as well.
Yeah. And I guess Massachusetts went forward with an emergency order. Actually, the governor used an emergency order to make that requirement.
I think Rhode Island too. If I would like to hear from somebody like Dr. Ebner if we're going to pursue this and engage him in this conversation.
Yeah. I think Juliet and I had the conversation where it appears that Dr. Ebner is more concerned about like surfaces and communicable surfaces. But first and foremost, it's a respiratory virus that's transmitted by, sneezing and coughing. And that's, if you look at the CDC website, or if you're a microbiologist, you're kind of like aware that it's sneezing and coughing that transmits the virus primarily. And surfaces are also transmissible as well for a certain amount of time. So, I think it would be prudent, actually prudent. Oh crap, am I locked up again?
No, you're
No,
good.
Crap.
you're good.
Oh, okay. So, I think it's definitely something to look into, and Sally is bringing it to our attention primarily, well, for our protection, but also the protection of, holderness customers that are walking in to an environment that allows no masks. So, she lives in Holderness.
Are they
Is
pressing,
Holderness adopting this, Bill?
She didn't say that.
are they pressing this statewide, Bill, which
I think it should be pressed statewide. I don't see why we would be any less than Massachusetts, but I think that's Governor Sununu's call, obviously.
right.
I have a point. Some retail establishments are requiring masks before you enter.
Yeah, well,
Maybe if we could encourage retail operations to require masks, that might take some of the edge off it.
and actually Sally just joined us. She's on mute, but
Right.
and I'm thinking, if we were to like do an ordinance or convince the governor that this is a good thing, then we would have, masks that we could, have available to make sure that people put a mask on before they enter a municipal, office or something. But Sally, do you want to say anything, or you're on mask on purpose, or you just, are you muted on purpose, or?
Well, I always mute it.
Yep.
Just so you don't get the extraneous noise. I didn't catch the beginning of what you were talking about, but I just left the select board meeting in Holderness and asked them, to look into the possibility, the same thing that I wrote you about. And they're going to look into it too. So I told them about you, and now I'm telling you about them. So
Okay.
I don't know if I mentioned it in my letter, but if you had some kind of ordinance or emergency order, it would allow the retail establishments to put a sign on their door that says, mask required. If you don't have a mask on, you're subject to a fine. And that really would help de-escalate any kind of situation, because one of the things that happened in Holderness over the last couple of months is lots of people were hiking up Rattlesnake, and they were parking. There were so many people there, they were parking in the road. So they put up, I haven't seen them, but I guess they put up signs that said, if you park here, you're going to get a fine. And that just shuts down the conversation right there. You're not telling them they can't do it. You're telling them they're going to get a fine. And that generally, takes care of this situation. And the other thing is that in a retail establishment, you might be able to say to somebody, if an owner complained, you're trespassing, you have to leave because that's property, but you can't do that when you're in the library. And you can't do that when you go into the town hall. So really the only way to protect those people is to try to make it illegal for them to do that. That's my opinion, which I'm not a lawyer, but.
Okay. And Sally, Tom Morrison is our health officer, and it looks incognito because he's kind of dark, but, Tommy suggested checking with, the medical director at Spear also to have his input. But I think it might not be a bad idea to, not legislative route, but at least contact the governor's office to see if that requirement might be added, just like the Massachusetts governor.
Well, I can say that you can try that, but I have communicated to them on several occasions over the past several weeks that I thought that would be a good idea. And I don't talk to the governor, but I do have the legislature, the House of Representatives has a specific contact person who's at HHS, and anything we pass to him, he forwards it to the appropriate person. So, I'm sure he's been asked multiple times. I don't think, unless things change, which they might if the towns start doing it, I don't think that he is currently in the state of mind to do that.
Okay, true. All right.
Warning, Bill.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah. So therefore, Kathy, you need action on your reopening document.
We're asking for your blessing.
And you need it like at this meeting, otherwise it's going to be
You want a motion, Bill?
Yeah, yes, please.
I move that we approve Kathy's plan.
Second.
Okay.
I'll
Any
second that
discussion?
motion.
Oh, I think John already did.
Oh, he did. Sorry, I didn't hear you, John.
We have 2 seconds.
Yep. 2 seconds to go to the meeting. No, so any discussion?
Bill, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Kathy, does that include all the town offices that we spoke about?
Yes.
Okay, good.
All right. And any discussion? We already discussed the fact about mask requirements, and that's something to consider, like probably ASAP as well. But we'll try to find out more of an answer on how best to like approach this. So all those in favor by roll. Zach? No, not in favor, but your vote, please. Zach.
Yes. Aye.
Neil.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Mary Ann.
Aye.
Bill. Aye. Motion passes. Okay. So I guess we table the attorney services RFP unless you want to have everybody review. Has anybody taken a look at the RFP for legal services for the town of Plymouth that Kathy put together?
Can I ask you something before you go on to that?
No, I don't think so, Neil, because I think we should be starting actually right now. So.
I just wondered if you responded to Sally's concerns.
No, unfortunately, we're kind of like, we can't exactly add that as a requirement to the office reopening at this point in time. And we're kind of like at a impasse until we can actually, I'm trying to think of like how best to actually accommodate this need, but I don't want to task.
Can we table it till the next meeting?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's like 2 weeks from now. So,
I mean, it also could be raised again on the floor of the next meeting.
yeah. All right. So let's put it off until the next meeting, and
We'll keep working on it.
Yep. And RRP services as well. Unless I'll go like tomorrow and talk to Kathy about that. So. All right. Well, it's 6 p.m.
Bill, hold on just a minute. Did you guys froze? We lost you for about 2 minutes. So did you vote on that motion?
Yes.
We had a motion and a second. Everybody in favor?
Was it unanimous?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't think Bill's hearing you.
Yeah, I was locked up there for a while. What was that, Ann?
We lost you. We lost the entire board for a few minutes. So I'm just wondering, that vote was unanimous. Is that correct?
Yes, it was.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. All right. So it's 6 p.m. I'm calling the select board meeting to order. And do we have the flag? We don't have the flag on. I don't see it there.
Kathy's going after it.
1 minute.
Yeah, I see that.
There we go.
Okay. Please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. And John, would you lead us in the pledge?
Okay.
John?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. All right. Where is that little snippet that I'm supposed to be saying as far as the opening of a Zoom meeting? Or shall I just say that if you're not seeing part of this, if you're not part of this meeting, please give me a call at 603-236-1812. And Jules, I'm sorry, that's not quite the deal there, but the governor's allowed us to have this electronic meeting with the tool Zoom. So we have several minutes to consider, and the first is on April 27th, 2020 non-public meeting minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review those?
Yes.
Yep.
Is there a motion?
I'd move to accept the minutes of the April 27th meeting.
Okay, Zach moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Neil seconds. By roll call, please vote. Zach?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Mary Ann?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Bill? Aye. Okay. Secondly, there's the April 27th, 2020 work session meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we accept the minutes.
Okay, Mary Ann moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Ooh, this is a tie for second.
Let John have it.
Okay, John Renlet seconds. By roll call, Zach,
Aye.
Neil,
Aye.
Mary Ann,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
and Bill, aye. Okay, April 27th, 2020 regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
I move that we accept those minutes.
Oh, I thought you were just going to say adjourn there for a sec, but
Almost.
is there a second? Neil moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Zach seconds. By roll call, Neil,
Aye.
Mary Ann,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Bill, aye. All right. Following announcements. The select board will meet on the following dates. We'll have a regular meeting at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, May 26th, and Monday, June 8th, and also June 22nd. And work sessions prior to the regular meeting will start at 5 p.m. And we have kind of like unfortunate news where the Memorial Day parade is canceled due to COVID-19.
We do have an alternative plan, Bill.
Oh, we already got one together? Are we're
Yes,
showing,
we did. Yes.
highlights from the past couple of parades, or?
Yeah, we thought about that, but actually we're going to have the people that normally give the speeches and the poem and things like that, the prayer, we're going to have them go over to PBTV and they're going to do a recording. In the meantime, we're going to have taps played out front. We're going to ring the town hall, the bell in the town hall belfry, and we're going to have the flag lowered during the taps playing. We're also going to get a Boy Scout to come place the wreath where they normally place it to honor our. We just felt that it was sad that, Memorial Day is canceled, so we can't honor our vets. So we were trying to think outside the box so that we could still do that.
That sounds great. Yeah.
I think we've come up with a pretty good alternative.
Okay, that's great. In fact, the only thing that's missing is breaking a sweat doing a march from,
Well, you can come march out on the front lawn, 6 feet distance between you.
All right, maybe
You
I
gonna
will.
fire the cannon?
Oh,
Yeah.
you said yes. I heard that, Kathy. Very good.
We're going to put chalk powder in a balloon and fire that.
Well, it's been inspected and retooled, so it should be capable of firing off. But anyway,
Some black powder down the barrel.
Yep, it'll do it. We'll talk about that.
Absolutely not.
Even if I
Come
volunteer
on.
to it.
No.
Well,
So
we'll have the.
it's still going to take place at 10:30. So if people want to watch, they'll be able to watch part of it on, is it Facebook, Jules? Live. Facebook Live. They'll watch the first part, and then we'll get the whole thing together and recorded so that it is really smooth and they can watch the ceremony.
Very good. Okay. Excellent. Well, getting back to the, so all the above meetings will be held in the town hall unless otherwise posted. Citizens wishing to be listed on the board's agenda should notify the town hall before 12 p.m. the Friday before the scheduled meeting. And we did just pass a motion to reopen town offices and also discuss some preventative measures for, how you will enter the town hall and exit, and for the other offices as well. And Kathy, what date is that?
Well, it would be Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday next week from 10 to 2 for the public. They should try to make an appointment if possible. If they need to walk in, then they need to keep the 6-foot distancing, which will have, markings out there for them to stand by, and just do everything as normal.
Okay. All right. Very good. And we were talking about the necessity to wear a mask, and we're going to be looking into that. But if you're a customer, you're coming into a town office, I would urge you to wear a mask. Thank you.
I'm just waiting for people to start wearing Halloween masks.
Ooh, we don't want to see that.
I think I would extend that recommendation, Bill, and say we urge citizens to wear masks in any public area.
Thank you, Zach. I would definitely agree with that as well. Oh, I'm getting a message saying we should stop because town hall is frozen.
Oh, no.
Yep, and they're gone.
They're overloaded?
Apparently. Oh, I'm the host now. Hey, all right. So hopefully they'll get back on quickly because you don't want me to run this meeting. But, well, while they're getting back, oh, do I have to stop or what? Because that PBTV.
Fine to us.
No, but PBTV is on, so therefore it's still being recorded. Oh, there we are.
Jumping around.
Town hall's back. Anyway. Hey. So just an announcement that Bethany Evans has been appointed as the deputy town clerk by Josie Garona. So you probably are familiar with Bethany if you visited the town clerk in the past. I don't know, how long has Bethany been there? At least 8 months, a year. Anyway, I just saw another announcement pop up. And Kathy, I guess it did work for the fact that there was an action on the part of the governor in order to open up the market basket on May 15th. And apparently that did occur, and we're shooting for a May 15th opening of our new market basket.
Following the same guidelines as all the supermarkets are following.
Which is they're religiously held by everyone that visits the
Yeah,
supermarket.
including the face masks.
Yeah, Market Basket actually in Tilton is pretty good.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
You know what time they're going to open?
Well, they're going to open like 6 o'clock in the morning for people over 60. And then regular hours. What is it? 6 to 7 for customers over 60. They'll be open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. for everybody else.
Maybe
And they
they'll
are-
have a ribbon cutting later on.
Yeah, they can't do that right now. Everybody would flock to the grand opening.
Yeah.
So,
I think everybody's going to flock there anyway.
yeah.
all right, and
7 to 6.
just briefly, there is no PSU person here to provide an update, but they are working on reopening the campus or having students back on in the fall, and they're working with I think 10 other groups besides the community group to discuss the issues that are involved in making sure that everyone has I guess brainstormed and addressed any issues that might pop up with the fact of inviting the campus to be reopened. Anyway, that's in process. New orders. We have Jesse Jennings, and he's going to be discussing the purchase of a Bobcat. At least new cab and parts for a skid steer and a Bobcat. Or Jesse, are you there?
He is not.
Well, no, you.
Yes, he is.
Oh, he is?
Oh, he came in a while ago.
Go ahead, Jesse. Unmute.
He's
Oh,
muted. He's
never
all
mind.
set.
Where is he?
So we sent the Bobcat out to Bobcat Company in Chichester. It is prepared. Just need the purchase order signed to make payment using the unanticipated funds that we received from Primex. Minus the $1,000 copay.
Okay, so this is an insurance issue, and we still have to, provide $1,000 of the $6,965 repairs.
Yes.
So, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the purchase order for Jesse.
For $6,965.28.
Right.
And is there a second? So Neil moved, and is there a second?
Second.
John seconds. Any discussion?
Is this a fairly new machine?
Yes, Neil, it's our newest Bobcat that was, I believe, was purchased in 2014.
So it's all basically in good operating order other than that.
Yes. It actually, the cost was lowered because they were able to salvage certain parts off of the old cab.
Oh, okay. All right. Any other discussion? Seeing none, by roll call, Neil?
Aye.
Marianne?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Zach? Oh, you're on mute, but that's okay.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And Bill, aye. Okay, the motion passes. All right. New and other business. Accept reimbursement funds from the Governor's Emergency Relief and Recovery Funds under NHRSA 21-P:43. Is there someone to speak to that?
I can speak to that. I'm sorry. So what I'm looking for is this is an emergency relief and recovery funds for the town of Plymouth to receive up to $162,045 specifically for expenses related to COVID. The selectmen do not have to have a public hearing under the RSA 21-P:43. So this is the first of possibly a few funds that we will be receiving from the state. The next one conditionally will be about $66,000 for police, fire, and EMS stipends. So we are putting together our list of reimbursement requests. So I'm asking you to approve the $162,045 to start with, and that is an up to amount. If we don't need all of those funds, we won't ask for them all. But we are putting our list together now, so that's what I'm asking you for at this time.
Okay. Is there clarity on how or what specifically will be accepted to satisfy the requirements of 162,045? The amount of money.
The only thing that we have heard that we cannot get is any loss of revenue. We have heard that we can, under this other program that they're dispersing funds to police, fire, and EMS, that fund you cannot, it is the town's responsibility for the FICA, the Medicare, the taxes. However, under the 162,045, we can try to collect the taxes in that fund. So it's basically any bills associated with the COVID, potentially employees who have been out of work, who are not put on unemployment, expenses associated with, anything we've had to do to clean the town hall extra, to anything you can think of except for lack of revenue.
Okay.
You cannot request those.
All right. So I guess I'm looking for a motion to accept and expend funds under RSA 21-P:43 from the Governor's Office for Emergency Relief and Recovery for the purpose of receiving a grant for up to $162,045, and also to allow Catherine Lowe, Plymouth Town Manager, to execute any and all documents necessary to fulfill the contract.
So move.
All right. John's moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Neil seconds. Any discussion? All right. Seeing none. Roll call vote. Neil?
Aye.
Marianne?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Bill? Aye. Okay. Motion passes. Very good. All right. Next is Don Jutton and Misty Cinsigali, USDA Rural Development, to discuss Main Street project. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name, but
You're fine. Sure. I don't know if Misty Cincigali, USDA Rural Development. I am the lead specialist for Vermont and New Hampshire out of the Montpelier office. We cover Vermont and New Hampshire. I work for the community programs, which we administer the water and environmental program, which is the loan and grant program that is currently being used to work on the water, wastewater, stormwater projects, as well as the community facility project or program, which you have applied for disaster funding. So we oversee both of those programs, and I was asked to hopefully answer questions, talk to you all about our pre-development planning grant program, which we've been discussing, I've been discussing for a while now in terms of the overall bigger project, Main Street project, and the hope that the town would look at applying for a planning grant that would in turn help to fund it would look hopefully at your entire stormwater system and would look at what work needs to be done, and then the alternatives to do that work and what those would possibly cost in terms of looking at the different ways that things could be fixed throughout the town or improved. And that in turn would also look at the Main Street portion of stormwater, which we know is an issue, and then would be a preliminary engineering report, which would then be able to be used to either apply for funding through USDA, the state, so that if in fact you were to move forward with funding that project, you could do that. Ultimately, you'd have, let's say, a shelf-ready project to go, whether you chose to move forward with applying to our funding or not. The way that I look at it, by doing the work, by getting the preliminary engineering report, you are shovel-ready as a town, and if money is available, are able to apply for it and receive it. So whether you choose to move forward or not with the work outlined in that engineering report, it would still be a report that you had have on the shelf that would be beneficial to the town, because it would outline the work, the stormwater work that needs to be done throughout the town. So that's kind of just a lot in a short amount of time. I don't know, Dawn, if you want to jump in, and then we can ask questions. If there are questions, what they are, we can hopefully answer them. So.
Dawn?
He may be on mute and doesn't know it. I don't know.
Is he here somewhere?
I saw his name pop up.
Yeah, his name's there, and he's not, at least he's not on mute on the software, but.
Okay. So I guess if you have questions, if we want to talk about, I know I had some conversations with Kathy last week just about our program and applying for it, and what that would entail. Really what the program is that you would be applying for is a pre-development planning grant that would give you up to 75% in grant what it would cost to produce the preliminary engineering report and possibly environmental report that would go along with that. That would require an engineer, for you all to have an engineer, and for that engineer to produce that report. My understanding is that Water and Sewer District have been working with an engineer. Whether you choose to use that engineer or not, that's up to you. My understanding is that I have a pretty good knowledge of what is in town and what is going on. That being said, if most grants that we see for a preliminary engineering report can cost up to around $30,000. So with a 75% grant, the town would be responsible for a match of a little over $7,000. We do not, that match can come from anywhere. You as a town would be the applicant and responsible for that match. If it's town money, wherever that money comes from, it's just required as part of the project. So it's your, as we call it, skin in the game, to go along with our sizable grant of $22,000. So,
Misty?
Yeah.
This is Judy DeLeo, Chair of the Water and Sewer District. I know Don had a whole bunch of things he wanted to mention, so I'm not sure what's going on. I'm trying to text him and see what's happening. He says he's not muted on his end.
Yeah, in fact, I saw him mute himself and then unmute himself. So, he just struggling with maybe his mic or.
There is a call in. I mean, I don't know if he called in or if he's using.
Can he just call in or try to reconnect, because we have him as in the meeting, unmuted. I can't do anything.
So Don, if you can hear us, you could try to call in, because there's a call-in number, and try that way.
So this is kind of like where we were maybe not quite a year ago, I guess. I think the engineering costs might have been, significantly more, I thought.
I know, that's why Don had things that he wanted to discuss and talk about. Somebody who was willing to go ahead and help write a grant and at least guide you through the process. I'm not sure what's going on. I keep texting him.
Jason seems to have his hand up, but
yeah, I was gonna say Jason's done a lot for this. So Jason, if you want to talk.
Is that okay, Bill?
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's kind of what we started going down the road with last fall as the first step in a number of steps to be able to leverage both our current funding and our current projects and some of the upcoming projects that the town has on the stormwater side. And I think it's an important piece that Misty mentioned, is that to have that report completed pretty much makes the town eligible for all the federal funding opportunities. Without the preliminary engineering report and the environmental report, the eligibility is, the town isn't eligible essentially for the federal funding piece of it. So I think that's really the first step in the process in order to be eligible for any funding that's available for the stormwater piece. So that's something where we've been trying to work on, and I think our initial engineering cost estimate was about $40,000 with a $10,000 match. So that's something that we're looking to see what the town's thoughts are on moving forward. We have stuff I've mentioned to Joe on Russell Street and Pleasant Street, which I know you guys are looking at, that we'd also like to get done. And I think we really want the opportunity to work together on all the projects. So stuff that's up and coming that we can foresee, hopefully we can jump in together on stuff and be able to apply for funding together in the future. I know right now we have the funding secured through rural development, but there's a few other funding opportunities up and coming that we'd like to possibly share in. And the opportunities, I'm sure Don can hit on some of those as well. But there's opportunities out there right now that are significant, to say the least. The potential for, I don't know if Kevin can share is there ability to share a map?
Am I on now, Jason?
Yeah, now you're on,
Am I
Don.
on?
Yes.
Did I make it?
Yeah, you're on.
So I don't know if we can share the map that we have.
Yeah.
But it kind of talking to the points of some of the stormwater impacts to the Main Street project. There we go. I don't know if you want to take over from here, Don, since you're on now, or?
Chris, you can't see
Yeah,
it.
if you don't mind, I don't know
Sure, go
whether they
ahead.
can turn control over, but
Yep.
I apologize. I don't know what happened. It said I was on hold on my end.
Yeah, your
so
cell
in any
phone
event-
was muted, but your other thing kept unmuting because you're logged in twice. You're logged in through your cell phone and you're logged in through your computer.
I don't have a speaker on my computer, so in any event, let's try this. What I wanted to discuss tonight are two things. One is to kind of share with you, and I don't know if the Control Central can move the plan or shrink it so that the full plan is available to see. But if you all, based upon what you can see, if you can see that, there you go. Shrink it a little more, please.
Can you rotate it or no?
Well, that's getting better.
I can move it down.
Needs to come up more. Yeah, you got it.
All right. So our project is replacement of water line in the blue area with some minor improvements to sewer along Main Street, and replacement of sewer on Green Street, which is the green line. The red line is, or the red lines are your drainage system as we understand it from your engineer. There may be some pieces missing, but it's what we got from the engineer at the moment. And the purpose is to show you where the overlaps are between our system and your drainage system. We have begun looking at the possibility of accelerating our project, which was scheduled for the 21-22 construction season, with the possibility of trying to accelerate it and get it done this summer, fall, while the businesses are shut down or close to shut down, so that we minimize the impacts. We've met with DOT, who's given us an okay to proceed, subject to them reviewing the plans. Rural Development has indicated they're okay with that. And that was the primary purpose that I wanted to discuss with you this evening. However, on Friday, Jason and I met with the regional director of the Economic Development Administration. And we learned that there was a new pot of money made available as of Friday to New England. So that makes a total of 3 pots of money that would be available to help underwrite the entire drainage system. And so we just learned about it on Friday. We've had some preliminary conversations with our engineer today. And my purpose this evening is to briefly describe to you what I understand EDA has said to us, which is there are a substantial amount of dollars available from 3 different pots. And the dollars come 80% grant, 20% local match. In the conversation, we preliminary numbers that we've gotten from the town and from our engineer is that this entire drainage system is about a $2 million undertaking. And according to the EDA person, Alan Brigham, that's well within the scope of the dollars available. And because of a number of things, not the least of which is the fact that there are 2 emergency declarations that have occurred in 2018 and 2019 in Grafton County, that Plymouth is one of a handful of opportunity zones. And because of the flooding along the river, he feels that the grant would be extremely easy to access. So what I'd like to ask this evening is that we set up a meeting in 2 weeks or so between the commissioners and the board to discuss the possibility that you defer action on the Russell Street, Pleasant Street project this year. Work with us to prepare a grant application and use the dollars dedicated to Russell Street and Pleasant Street as the match. $400,000 will yield a $2 million project. If you put the 400,000 up, you wind up getting 2 million. So it's not that you would lose the money, it's just that you'd have to march in place until next spring. And so the worst that happens is you delay the project. The best that happens is you get at least $2 million, 400,000 of which would come from your bond, but the balance would be $1.6 million, which would be provided by EDA. At the same time we're analyzing that, we're going to look at whether or not EDA would provide us with a grant, which the district would provide the match for, which would allow us to put water and sewer in any place that's needed within this impact area and repave. So there would be potential savings both in terms of construction for you and us, and savings in repaving, because you'd pay essentially half of the repaving and we'd pay the other half of the repaving. And when we were done, downtown would be pretty much buttoned up for the next 25 years. And so at this point, it doesn't come with any guarantees, but the probability based upon what we heard on Friday was extremely high. And so we'd like a couple of weeks to work with Joe, just have discussions with your engineer, our engineer, and come back to your board and our board of commissioners with a plan that would look at a collaborative approach to address the entire downtown: water, sewer, drainage, and road reconstruction.
Okay. Well, it doesn't really need a comment, I guess, but any questions or comments on what Don just suggested?
Hi.
So this is Misty. I just have a quick question for you, Don. Does that mean, and I want to first speak to the fact that Don is not incorrect in saying that this is an opportunity that, as a community, you should really take some time to think about, because EDA, this is and I've had conversations with EDA as well, because we are funding other projects together. They have a substantial amount of money available. And if in fact they are behind your project and encouraging you to apply, they wouldn't do that if they didn't think it was an application they couldn't approve. So I really would strongly recommend that you really think about it, because it is an opportunity that is not going to come around. I'm kind of blown away, Don, that they have even more money available, because it's a great thing for Vermont, New Hampshire, and New England to have these pots of money. So I want to say that, like, my feeling is that it really is an opportunity that should not be wasted, because it could do a lot of great things for your town, especially in this time of uncertainty. It's something to really think about. But Don, my question is, would the town still need to move through their preliminary engineering for that portion? Just kind of in going back to the initial discussion about our planning grant.
Yes, they'd need to pursue the planning grant. However, what we do know is that because we, the district, have gone through this process, we can share a lot of that information with their engineer, or if they elected to use Wright Pierce, who is our engineer, that could be melded and the process could be accelerated. I would expect, based upon the conversation with Alan, we could have a decision in October.
Yeah, John.
Yes. I think Kathy could attest to the fact that I think we have that application already with paperwork and information from Wright Pierce. that we were going to bring to the select board, I think in December or January, for that engineering. We have all that paperwork, and I think Kathy has that in her office with the information from Wright Pierce using. So that would be a pretty quick thing to go ahead and take a look at. And Kathy can speak to that, but I still think she has all that paperwork together.
All right.
Misty, what's your turnaround period? How long do you need after they submit the app?
I mean, I can't. I wish I could. I love it when I put on thought about timing. I can't. I unfortunately cannot give you. Okay, here. This is the time frame. I'm going to say that if you were to submit an application, we would work our hardest to get it in as quickly as possible process. Given that it is a planning grant, there's not a lot of underwriting that goes into it. So in terms of timing wise, we could hopefully have a pretty quick turnaround. We have 45 days as standard to process it. I would say at the most it would take that. But again, I know that Jason's worked on pieces of the application. It really is not, I don't think, and I'm here to help too, I don't see the application as something that should stand in your way because it is not a big heavy lift. And again, Jason's done a lot of work on it, I think, already. And I think you have most of the pieces in place. It's just a matter of putting it into the system, which you as the town could do, or I know Wright Pierce has also done it before. So again, I would say that if you put in an application, this is a priority. Again, you are a disaster county, as evidenced by your application to us for CF grant dollars. And this project is a priority on all accounts. So I would encourage you to do it if you can, sooner than later. And again, I'm here to help in any way possible. So.
Okay. Thanks, Missy. Anybody else?
Well, this stormwater system that you showed on the map is archaic, and it's outmoded, and it desperately needs to be re-engineered.
That's one of the reasons this application will weigh so heavily, is the system is already in failure. It surcharges under storm conditions, which is one of the priority aspects of one of the grants. There are three pools of money. One of them results from the flooding declarations in the last 2 years, in 19 and 18, or in 18 and 19, yeah, those 2 years. And so the fact that we would be mitigating, or you would be mitigating that in the process, is really important, which is one of the things Alan pointed out, was that having that gives us a decided advantage over almost anybody else who would apply. So we're unique in that Plymouth is unique in that it is one of a handful of communities in the state that has the Opportunity Zone designation. This project is in the downtown, which is another high priority item for economic development in terms of preserving and protecting downtown. And then you have the stormwater mitigation issue. Again, he was very straightforward, and Mitzi will tell you that the folks who work with these programs can't give you guarantees. But I came away convinced enough, and Jason came away convinced enough that we have such a high chance of getting the money that we'd be foolish not to pursue it. And so we kind of changed our plans. What this would mean from my perspective, or from our perspective, is we would delay, instead of going out this summer and trying to get our part of the work done, we would wait and try to package the entire project in the springtime, work with downtown so we have a traffic continuation plan that minimizes the impacts. It's not, I mean, we can't replace water, sewer lines, drainage, and roads without having an impact. But with enough resources for both projects, we can do an awfully good time of getting it done quickly and minimizing the impact, scheduling it when it will have the least amount of impact. But the most important thing from my perspective is solving that downtown drainage problem at the same time we replace water and sewer lines. I mean, that's a 25 or 30-year fix. You won't have to worry about dealing with those issues in the downtown area for a long time with somebody else's money.
Okay. So at least the intent is to have a meeting in 2 weeks, a board-to-board meeting to discuss this further after Joe has had a chance to, talk with your engineers and Jason and such.
Yes, we would have a conceptual plan of attack, for lack of a better description, that would be, much more in depth in terms of what programs we would be looking at, what the sequencing would be, how we would get it packaged, what the various responsibilities would be. We get the fact that the town doesn't have a lot of resources or doesn't have many resources at all to commit to this. But if you can, as far as the large grant is concerned, the drainage grant, if we can leverage the money that you've already bonded so that you don't have to put a nickel in, you're going to spend that money on those drainage roads anywhere, those roads where you have the drainage in anyway. So that if you can take that money, get another $1.6 million by using it as match, you wind up doing those roads, but you do all of the others at the same time. And if we can leverage our position in terms of working in the downtown, if we can get additional grant money to upgrade water and sewer at the same time you're doing the drainage, essentially we're digging up the roads one time, we're repaving the roads one time, and that whole downtown area winds up winning in a big way over the long term.
Yeah, there's another program. Sorry to interrupt, but there's another program that Rural Development offers as well. I believe it's part of the was it community facilities, Misty, for streetscape?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that would be another component potential to finish off Main Street, with the streetscape potential, to put it back for the businesses, nicer than it is now. I think that's really the goal, for the town as a whole. Not speaking for the town, but I think it would do the businesses a service to come back to a downtown where they can thrive and be prosperous. And I think we have the opportunity with the potential to include that piece as well.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. That's part of our community facilities side of the shop. We can look at the streetscaping. And we have in the past been able to couple, and that would be loan dollars. So just, possibly maybe grant dollars, depending on what comes down in the next year, but it is something that can be coupled with other federal funds as well. We found that streetscaping, we're doing a lot of streetscaping, or a lot more streetscaping, because when you do a large project like this, the water, sewer, stormwater, you want to do it right, and you want to do it once, at least for our lifetime. So you want to look at how you can roll it all together and go after the most sources of funding that you can get, which you would be doing the EDA, which would be fantastic. And you want to put it back and have it maybe be better than it was before. And you have that opportunity. And I know with the engineer that Ray Pierce is also somebody who does streetscaping plan. So they package it all together as well. So it is definitely something that would be a game-changing project regardless of how you look at it. But not only would you be doing underground, you'd be doing above ground if you thought about it. So that's absolutely a possibility.
That's very intriguing. Any questions from a board?
I have a couple things.
Joe,
Well,
Joe,
is that-
a couple of things.
Oh, well, Zach was just saying something. Do you want to finish your thought, or?
Yeah, I had a question. I don't actually know what the state is, but I know we had a lot of discussions about some development and changes on South Main Street. And I know at one point there were plans hanging in the town hall. Is this impacted by that at all? And does that project need to get considered in any of this work? Again, I don't even know if that project's still active.
I wonder which plans were you referring to? Actually,
So I recall earlier in the year, maybe it was late last year, there was plans in the town hall for connecting Green Street to South Main Street, somewhere around Warren Street.
Yeah, that's not the same plan that we're talking about, but
No, but that segment was highlighted in the plans that were shown, and I didn't know if any of that work needed to be planned in conjunction or considered at the same.
It could be.
Yep.
It could be. I mean, one of the things, once you all decide, assuming you decide in the affirmative, it authorizes to go ahead, we would have to quickly turn around the PPG, the preliminary planning grant issue. Once that starts, we can look at and evaluate any number of alternatives, which might be either currently or in the future eligible to attract EDA dollars or rural development dollars or northern borders dollars. They all are focused at economic development in one way or another. So it's possible. It's not envisioned as being part of this today, and if it were to go ahead, it could be run in parallel, but if it didn't go ahead for another 10 years, it would not impact what I'm proposing today.
I have a question.
Yeah, Neil.
Okay, Bill?
Yeah.
While we're doing water, sewer, and storm drainage, what's the chance that we could include power and telephone and cable?
Undergrounding all those utilities?
Yeah.
Is that, yeah. No,
Yeah,
so,
do the whole thing. Get it all underground. Everything.
So yeah, and I'm gonna say that's something that you want to think about. I'm gonna tell you should call the mayor of Winooski, Vermont, and have a conversation, because we are currently funding a project in the city of Winooski that is doing just that. That is undergrounding, that is doing the water, sewer, stormwater, and at the same time undergrounding all of those utilities. It is something that can absolutely be done, and our funding is being used for that. Our community facility loan, which actually will be taken out, I believe, by another source of funding, but our water and wastewater program, coupled with our community facility program, is paying for that entire project. And there are a lot of communities that are doing just that. While they have the ground ripped up, they are undergrounding all their utilities. So it is absolutely something that you can look at doing. It is something that takes coordination, but if it's something that the town would like to look at and you're a year away from it, it may be a possibility to do that. So I would encourage, if it's something that you're thinking about, to definitely look at it, because you are not the first community. And if you want, I can certainly put you in touch with other communities that are currently doing it or have gone through the planning process and how it, and they may be able to give you some pointers on working with the different utilities and how to do that. So.
Thank you, Neil. That's great.
I think we ought to look into it.
Yeah. Winooski, huh?
That could be part of your. That could be done by the engineers. I mean, it's preliminary and it's to some extent conjectural, but they could certainly use industry standard numbers when they're doing the engineering for the water, well, the drainage system. And, we'd have a viability number anyway to discuss in terms of, what do the numbers look like? And then we could bring those to the table with EDA, Rural Development, and Northern Borders folks.
Okay.
It's a great opportunity.
Absolutely. Yes. So I would just like to just throw in before the conversation ends, if it is agreed upon that the town is going to apply for Rural Development's pre-development planning grant, I would again stress that, any questions that you have here, now, or after, please reach out to me. I am more than willing to answer any questions as well as help in any way, shape, or form with the application. But I would say it is, I think as Don has said, the planning is the most important part. And you have the availability of grant dollars to help you do that. And the planning is something where, again, if you plan for it all, and if you choose not to do it all, you still have a plan on the shelf that you could pull down and propose if even better funding came along. So I'm a big proponent of planning and comprehensive planning because it's never a bad thing for a town and a community. And then you do have to put some skin in the game in terms of a match for the planning grant. But again, I think in the long run, in the scheme of things, it is money. And as we know right now, there's a lot of uncertainties, but I think in the long run, it will pay off to do that. So I'd be more than willing to have more conversations about it and to give you a little bit more insight about the program. But I know Jason has worked a lot on the application already, as Don has done a lot of work. So, but again, if you have questions for me, I'm more than willing to answer them now or after.
Thanks, Misty. I want to hit Joe. You are waiting to say something.
Yeah. So I have a few key questions for all of this, but I have the 2 weeks to do all that, so I don't want to waste this time. But I need to tell you that I've been here a long time, and I've watched the direction that we're headed in, and this opportunity excites me more than you can imagine, with all these people around me to pull together and try to make this happen. It's incredible. And so if this really needs to be something that I hope that everybody is on board and that it can go forward. It's huge.
Thanks, Joe. That's great to hear. We've been really wanting to work with you guys and help you along as much as we can. And we've got the knowledge and, the grants that we've gotten under our belt to really help this move forward and get going.
Yeah, I appreciate everything that's happening here. So whatever, the highway can do to move it along, we're on board.
Geez, Joe, never heard you so enthusiastic about something. That's great. Any questions of Misty that she hasn't addressed already, or we'll reserve until we meet in a couple of weeks?
Really appreciate your input.
No, absolutely.
Thank you, Misty.
You're welcome. And like I said, I'm sure, as always, in any meeting, you think of a million questions after. So I know Kathy's got my email and information. Feel free to reach out. I'm available to answer any questions, and I will gladly participate in any conversation in the future, just to kind of keep us at the table as a current funder, but also as a potential funder. And again, I can't stress enough that in this day and age, the fact that you've got a lot of different sources of funding at the table that are willing and wanting to help, I think that's a fantastic thing. And it shows a lot about the community that you live in and what you're currently doing. And I just want to say, keep up the good work, because you guys, it'll be a great thing to visit Plymouth, and I can't wait for the market basket. but in a couple of years when all of this is said and done. So.
Very good. Thanks very much. Any other comments or? Hearing none. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to our meeting in a couple of weeks, and I can't quite be as excited as Joe, but I'm almost there. All right. Well, thanks, Don, Jason, Judy, and Misty. And you can stick around if you want, but we're pretty much wrapping it up, I think, at this point.
All right. Well, thank you guys for your time. I really appreciate it. So everybody stay well.
Thanks, Misty. You too.
Thanks for listening. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Judy.
Bill, this is Don. I'll coordinate with Kathy and Joe to find a date that works for you and works for the commissioners. I'm presuming we'll still be in this emergency situation, so we'll be doing it long distance like this.
Yeah, that's great. Maybe in a couple of weeks' time, maybe we might find a facility that we can accommodate, both boards without needing to call in. I don't know if that's being too jumping the gun, but Zoom is kind of for the birds in a lot of respects. So we'll see. But yeah, I appreciate coordinating with Kathy.
Okay. Well, and we'll try to be sure that we have, a preliminary draft of something in writing. So I know it can be confusing as we walk through this. So we'll try to put something in writing that gives everybody a chance a couple of days in advance to get their head around what it is we're talking about.
That'd be great. Oh, John.
Yeah, Don, when you get with Kathy, like I say, I think we had Wright Pierce's information. We had everything ready to get approved by the board, so there shouldn't be a lot of work there.
To move that ahead, John, all you need to move that ahead is decision by the board that you want to use the services of Wright Pierce to prepare and submit the document. I mean, most of what they prepared came from work that we have. They can get a big head start based upon the fact that some of what they did, it's not all of it. They didn't do the entire drainage system downtown, but they understand it because it had to meld with the work we're doing to replace water and sewer.
Yeah, exactly. And so Kathy has that, and it was filled out to the point that we were going to bring it before the board for approval.
Thanks, John. I guess we'll consider that. Yep. All right.
No other questions. I'm going to sign off, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
You too.
All right.
Okay. So, so therefore, we got committee reports. If anyone would like to describe a committee report that they've attended.
We had an interesting meeting with the Pemmy River Local Advisory Committee.
Yes, we did. I hear the chair is like really effective in moving that meeting along.
Yeah, we're going places. I think a lot of explanation, we learned a lot.
Well, hey, speaking of which, can I contribute the fact that we did a site walk on the Eversource right away that's down by, where is it? It's,
New Hampton.
Yeah, New Hampton. And, it was pretty neat to be able to learn how they actually select the vegetation that they would selectively cut. They don't do poison or herbicides. And actually it was kind of interesting because it was at a junction between the Eversource right-of-way and the electric cooperative right-of-way. And we were told that the electrical cooperative actually uses defoliants to get rid of their weeds and such, and Eversource actually picks anything that's not going to grow higher than 7 feet. They leave, so they do I believe they do a great job in actually controlling their vegetation. So it was a very informative site visit that we did. Anyway, thanks, Neil. Anything else?
No.
Okay, sorry. Did I steal your thunder on that one? Zach or John or Marianne?
I haven't had any. I missed the park and rec, but I got that email after the fact. I'm going to contact them tomorrow and make sure they have my email.
Okay. Zach?
Marianne's gone.
Oh.
Nope, Marianne's here.
Sorry, I'm muted again. I attended school board meeting on May 4th. I mean, the minutes are all online. There's certainly, for people who are interested, you should read through. Of particular interest, they set the last day of school for the elementary school to be June 5th, which is pretty early this year, but they had skipped their April vacation so that they could shorten things a little bit. So elementary school will be done on the 5th. They're also planning sort of an adjusted graduation for the 8th grade class this year, which they've recruited the fire department and the police department to help add a little bit of celebration to what effectively will be cars driving down through the school, picking up 8th grade, certificates or whatever they hand out to the kids. But I was thankful to hear that the police and the fire department were participating in that and helping to try to make something a little bit more of a celebration that's kind of tough when you can't all get together.
Zach, is there a date for that?
I believe that's the 5th.
That is going to be on the
I think
5th.
it's on the last day of school, yeah.
So thanks for mentioning that, because actually, Tommy ended up putting that in his weekly report. But I thought it was for the high school. Is the high school also doing a drive-by graduation, or Tom?
Hi, they're talking about it, Bill. We don't have final details yet, but they are discussing that for June 6th, as was their original graduation ceremony proposal. And I think they will come to the board with that announcement shortly. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
So speaking of the high school graduation too, you probably noticed that the banner got put out, I guess today. And Tom, thanks for your help in that, because you worked with the electrical cooperative to put up that banner with all the graduating seniors.
Yeah, that looks good. And yeah, we need to thank the co-op for their participation in that.
Yep. And you as well.
Sure.
And it was, who was the principal on that? I mean, the person that kind of coordinated was like
Lynette from Megaprint,
Yep.
who also, I believe, donated that banner. So they should be thanked as well.
Yeah. So yeah, Megaprint does a great job in doing stuff like that. But yeah, Lynette LaPierre
Yes.
was, and also Bridget Powers were instrumental in that banner. So that's good. Any other, Marianne, do you have a report?
No, actually, Bill, you attended planning board for me?
Yes, I did.
And how'd it go?
It was marvelous. You missed a great meeting. So actually, Lisa Donor's class was there to present a project that they were trying to do something to, not help in solving storm drain.
You froze again.
I think you froze up.
Yeah, I think you did too.
Who's talking?
He's gonna say, "Oh crap," any minute.
Or worse.
I think that means you're in charge now, Marianne.
Yeah.
I've always loved that.
Yeah.
Any motion for adjournment?
Cut him right out.
Before there's any more frustration.
I guess we should give him a minute. Is he still talking? I can't see anybody. I'm just hearing.
I texted him that he's frozen.
I could add that at the Pemmy River Local Advisory Committee, we had an extensive interaction with state officials and industry officials regarding PFAs, PFOAs, PFOs, other compounds that are insoluble and carcinogenic, and water testing, and how we're looking at monitoring the river. Leachate from landfills and sewer sludge being processed. And the state, personally, I don't think they have a handle on it, but they're working at it. The university's working on it, and I think the EPA's working on trying to get a handle on it.
How often do they test, Neil?
Well, the tests are pretty expensive, and so they're highly selective, and I can't tell you how often they test, but it's I don't think that the material is being tested as often as it should be. I think one of the impacts they're concerned about is cropland. They don't have a handle on what's going into the soils and producing our crops, and so they're looking at testing there too. I guess.
Hello.
Bill's coming back.
Well, only by phone. So, yeah, I got booted out big time. So, in any event, yeah, planning board was great. Do you want me to continue on that, or are we pretty much, you haven't adjourned yet, have you?
I wouldn't let them.
Tried.
Actually, I got a message from Ann saying we're going to be here all night. So, in any event, yeah, planning board, we got a presentation by Lisa Donor's class to look into paving, pervious paving along on Main Street when water and sewers work is almost complete. We would do that to help solve some runoff issue. And that's pretty much it. And so therefore, is anybody else has anything to offer? Am I locked up on my phone too?
No, we can still hear you.
Oh, okay.
Have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I'm looking for that. That would be good.
Second.
All right. So John made the motion. Neil seconded. By roll call, John?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Marianne?
Aye.
Bill? Aye.